This would be a really, really good game that I might have to pull up at, man. You know what I'm saying? DFW style, for real. But listen, man, that's all we got for you today. The platform DFW in the building. I am your host, Mark Henry. Let's talk playoff football. It's playoff time in Texas. Couple of by-district matchups that we are looking forward to in the DFW area. You got to start no other than, Allen, Louisville. Two teams kind of going in a different direction. Louisville started out as one of the hottest teams in the state of Texas. Those first few weeks, they were ranked. They were, undefeated. But listen, Allen's undefeated, and they're ranked right now. They're one of the best teams in the state of Texas. Beat Prosper a couple of weeks ago by one. I think that this Allen defense is going to be the difference in the game. They're only giving up a little bit over 100 yards passing. Of course, Trey Williams for Louisville is a dynamic playmaker at the quarterback position. That's going to be the big matchup. Can the Allen defense get pressure on Williams and limit him to big plays? Trajan Mueller for those guys is a big-time playmaker, and Tennell Hill in the backfield. And can the defense for Louisville stop that potent Allen offense? That's what we're going to be looking at. I think those are the big matchups that you'll see in that particular game. Walnut Grove takes on Seguin. This is a matchup of two teams that matched up last year. Cam Newton's one of the best running backs in the state of Texas. Close to 2,000 yards rushing this year. He had 2,000 last year as a junior. Hayes Hackney's one of the best sophomore quarterbacks in the state of Texas. Hayden Cooley, big-time receiver prospect outside for those guys. He can line up in the slot as well. He's a playmaker. On the defense and linebackers a playmaker for Walnut Grove as well. But this Seguin team, they fought back. They beat Mansfield Summit 23-22 to get in. They beat Everman 22-21. This is not your normal fourth-place team coming out of 3-5 AD2. This is going to be a good game. These teams met last year in the playoffs, and I expect it to be a close game. Walnut Grove has to play well, and they will. They're going to lean on Cam Newton. We're talking about Cam Newton is one of the best running backs, definitely in the state of Texas. He's got some offers, Navy, Army for sure, Air Force, the academies are on him. He's got Sam Houston State as well. I'll be interested to see where he ends up going. I think he'll have a chance to play on Saturdays for sure. But he's going to be the guy that Seguin's going to be able to stop. Watch out for the safety Bly as well. He had a big game last week to help those guys win for Seguin. I think that's a big, big game as well. South Lake Carroll's the number one team in the state of Texas. The only reason I'm mentioning this game because they're playing Crowley, the Eagles, and they have a veteran coach in Coach Lynn that I think can make this game tough for those guys. They have one of the best receivers in the country in Antavius Ellis, the Nebraska commit. Shout out to my guy Tay Ellis. Brandon Ford on the defensive side of the football is one of the top corners in the country. This is going to be a game where South Lake Carroll's going to have to really get out in front and play South Lake Carroll football, which you expect in this matchup. But Crowley has nothing to lose. I expect trick plays. I expect everything to come out. They're going to do everything they can to stay in this game and give South Lake Carroll as much as they can handle. I expect this to be maybe a little bit closer game than the experts think. But I think that South Lake Carroll has the number one team in the state for a reason. I think, I expect them to be in the state championship game. They lost last year. They left a little meat on the bone. So this is something that I know that these guys, shout out to Coach Riley Dodge. I know this is a guy, that's looking at this in his team. You know what I'm saying? You got Blake Hunter, you got Brody Knowles, and you also have Brock Boyd, the Ohio State commit, as well as the quarterback position, Angelo Randa, Davis Penn, and Biggers as well at the running back position. And, the offensive line is great. Don't sleep on Jake Lucky in that defense, though, and Chin in the secondary. They play good football at South Lake, and they play good sound football. Now, Prosper and Hebron's a matchup that I definitely am going to be keeping my eye on as well. Prosper's one of those teams that I've been talking about this year that I thought that could make a run to stay. They're loaded. I think that this is one of the better teams that maybe people hadn't been talking about. I know they had a tough loss against Allen, but that was a very, very close game. It was a 1-point game. It was real close, and that kind of came down to special teams. I think, without the special teams mishaps, I think Prosper wins that game. They came back. They were down at halftime. This was a big game, playoff atmosphere for both teams. Lathan Latchley, I think, is one of the best receivers in the state that maybe people don't talk about. He's a Tulsa commit, man, I'd be surprised if Tulsa holds on to this guy. I mean, I know this guy's getting some other looks from other schools, but he's so electric. He's a great route runner, and when he gets the ball in space, he's gonna go to distance if you let him. You know what I'm saying? Bryce Robinson in the backfield, 1,000-yard rusher, over 15 touchdowns as well. But Braden Omhoff, the quarterback, is the guy that kind of sets the table for those guys. Of course, Zayden Crimpin in that big offensive line up front. Now, Hebron, Brady Brock is the signal caller. He's QB1, over 2,000 yards and 22 touchdowns. Tyson Stiggers in this defense, they're going to have to play well. They're going to have to play well and try to corral Hebron. Hebron's a stubborn team. This is going to be a pretty good game as well. Some of these first-round matchups could be second or third-round matchups that we're looking at and talking about. I mean, this is one of those games that you definitely need to keep your eye on. Another interesting game that I think that maybe a lot of people talking about is Lake Ridge and Trinity. Of course, the Trinity Trojans are famous for their physical offensive line, but they got a QB that can throw it and run it in Mac Lineweaver, JT Harris in the backfield as well. Of course, they got the number one cornerback in the country in John Meredith, who I saw play some offense. They're getting him involved on the O. That's scary. To think that Trinity can come and put one of the best athletes on the offensive side along with JT Harris and that big offensive line, don't sleep on John on that offense. I'm telling you right now. I saw it last week. A couple of plays on O. They may be seasoning you up. You know what I'm saying? But Lake Ridge, listen, J.C. Cotton's a phenomenal running back, well over 1,000 yards, and Deshaun Edwards as well. This is a team that can get it done. Now, we know they got Texas Tech commit and number one offensive lineman or top offensive line in the country in Felix Ojo. This is a Mansfield Lake Ridge team that can get it done. But I think this is one of the more interesting games of DFW, and that's why we're talking about it on the podcast today. Definitely a game Friday night you need to check out. It's going to be over in Mansfield. Another game featuring a Mansfield team that I like. Taking on Timberview. Shout out to Coach Coleman, man. He's come over there and done a great job. Braylon Barnett's one of the top two-way athletes in the state of Texas that you're going to find. He's had a phenomenal year, probably district newcomer of the year over there, in my opinion. But Anna's got one of the top dual threat quarterbacks in the state, is DeAndre Williams, over 33 touchdowns. And he's a dual threat as well. He can get outside the pocket. I had a chance to see him against Walnut Grove a couple weeks ago, and he was phenomenal. They jumped out on Walnut Grove very early. It was because of his ability to get outside the pocket. If they don't corral him, it's going to be a long night. But I expect Coach Coleman and the Mansfield Timberview defense to step up. You know what I'm saying? A couple of more guys you need to watch for Anna. Michael Kennedy is phenomenal. This is one of the best receivers that people don't know about. I'm telling you, this guy is electric. I saw him score 4 touchdowns against Walnut Grove. He's one of the better receivers that you do not know about. I'm telling you, write this down. Michael Kennedy, wide receiver, Anna. He's a guy. Ace Trailer and Carmon Houston, as well as Miles. Several more playmakers on that offense. Timberview's going to have their hands full with this offense from Anna. But, they're battle tested as well. They played Melissa. They played Lovejoy. And, of course, they lost to Walnut Grove a few weeks ago. But this is a battle tested team. And I'm telling you right now, this could be a close game. Colleyville Heritage and Melissa. 5A D2 is loaded. I think that this region is loaded with teams that could possibly, make a run. Brett Holloway, the Melissa quarterback, I had a chance to see him against Walnut Grove a couple of weeks ago. He's phenomenal, dual threat guy. He can throw it. He can sling it. He's thrown for 1,894 yards and 20 touchdowns. I think that Melissa gives, the Colleyville Heritage defense is going to give him fits. He's going to test them because he can get outside the pocket and do some things, but he can also chunk it over top. Big time game. But Colleyville Heritage has a QB1 of their own that's phenomenal in Bodie Weaver. I like this guy. 27 touchdowns. And he's a dual threat. 12 touchdowns on the ground. He's committed to UTEP. So he is a guy. And he's been in that realm. He's been under the helm for Colleyville Heritage for a couple of years. This is a guy that can get it done. Don't sleep on this game. I'm telling you, this is why we're breaking a couple of these games down. Of course, there's other big matchups, but these are the ones that kind of caught my eye. You know what I'm saying? South Grand Prairie and Lake Highlands, that's a matchup. They've met 6 times in the last 6 years. They know that they're going to see each other. You know what I'm saying? But I think the difference this year with Lake Highlands is Chuck Smith. He's a quarterback that can sling it. He's very accurate. He's got a strong arm. He can hit every route on the route tree that you want. Christian Rhodes, he can just turn around and hand it off to him. a SMU commit, long athletic guy, a track guy that can get north and south real quick. And if he gets an open field, it's 6. But SGP has a guy in Josiah Lucas who can do the same thing. Cade Wallace, a two-way player over there, Stephen F. Foster commit, that can do the same thing. So this is going to be an interesting game. It's in the Gopher Bowl. If you've never been to the Gopher Bowl, I'm telling you, this is a stadium that you want to see. Put that one on your bucket list. You heard it from Mark Henry right here on the Platform DFW podcast. Lake Highlands, South Grand Prairie, SGP, great game. I'm telling you right now. Another interesting one, and again, these matchups could be second or third round matchups. Plano and Capel. Capel's coming out of that district with Louisville, Hebron, and Geyer, who are the eventual champions. But I'm telling you right now, signal caller, QB1 for Capel, Carter Zingelman, is a dude, 2028. He's only a sophomore. But this guy can run it. He can pass it. Shout out to my guy, Coach Wiley. He's got a squad over there, and this is the QB1. Had a chance to see them this year. Zingelman's one of those guys that you want to put the football in his hands. Of course, he's a dude, 6'4", 6'5", can run it and sling it. But listen, Plano has been hanging around all year. They're looking for their first playoff win since 2009. They've lost the last 6 by-district games that they played in. So, we'll see. This is why we go and play football. This is why Texas is the best. I'm saying? Shout out to my other platform hosts. But listen, everything's big in Texas, and it goes down. That's why we in the mix. If you look at the top teams in the state of Texas, several of them are ranked in the country, and that's why we do it big up in Texas, especially up in DFW. But I think the most intriguing thing is you get these matchups early. South Oak Cliff and Crandall's another big matchup at 5AD2. Crandall is coming in 7-3. Of course, Sock, is dominating and one of the best teams in the state of Texas again. But I expect that to be a good game. Another game that I'm looking forward to before we get out of here, a little bit further out west, 5A D1 matchup, 2 teams in Fort Worth that you may not know about or heard about, Arlington Heights and Brewer. They're kind of close in proximity, probably about 5 or 6 miles. It's on the west side of Fort Worth. These 2 teams, may not get out of the limelight as some of the other bigger teams around Dallas, Arlington, and in northern Dallas or up in the Texoma area. Shout out to my guy, Pastor Tussin. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, listen, Brewers coming up. They got a very good running back in Cameron Coleman. This might be a game, man, I might have to pull up on. I kind of got my lazy eye on it. Arlington Heights has been a playoff team the last 2 or 3 years. They made a deep run a few years ago to the 3rd round, and they've been playing good football. This could be a really, really good game that I might have to pull up at, man. You know what I'm saying? DFW style, for real. But listen, man, that's all we got for you today. Tap in with the Platform Podcast Network. I'm your host, Mark Henry. You can follow us on the Platform DR in all caps on Twitter. Tomorrow, I'm dropping all my regional finalists on the platform.drsports.com website, man. Tap in with me anytime, man. Of course, I am your host, Mark Henry, from the DFW, straight out of Texas. It's going down.